Hey, we here. What's up, guys? This is Roos by Don, and right now I'm sitting with the living legend, Shane Henderson with Pike Consulting Group. We're going to be talking a lot about safety, about the safety culture, and how we're going to be making a difference in the roofing industry, right?
Sounds good to me. Hey, good to be here with you, Don. I appreciate that.
Thank you for coming. Thank you for coming to the Roof Gallery again. If you guys don't know, we did a safety event here last month for 420. It was Ladders and Rich Pros, helping roofers stay high. So that's why we did some fall protection and safety classes.
Yeah.
So, we're going to be talking. So let's get straight to it. Shane, if you could just introduce yourself again.
All right.
And then just tell us a little bit about the company's background.
Sure. So I'm Shane Henderson with Pike Consulting Group. We're a safety company out of Georgia, out of South Atlanta. So we started back in about 2013, helping companies try to figure out what they needed to do to comply with OSHA regulations and ultimately to keep their companies and workers safe. We've been working with a lot of companies in and around Atlanta. We've branched out. We just started operations in different parts of the country, in Colorado, Texas, Tennessee, South Carolina, North Carolina, and Florida.
Okay.
Yep. So we're branching out there, and I think what we try to do is we try to bridge that gap between only talking about regulations and OSHA, and then also trying to get people to understand the culture around safety and how to realistically protect yourself from those issues, whether it be, obviously top priority is keeping people from getting hurt or killed.
Exactly.
That's always number one.
Mm-hmm.
But, a lot of companies have to look at that liability on the OSHA side as well. But we want to teach the OSHA rules, but I really want to get down with people to understand why you do this.
Exactly.
It ain't just about the money.
Exactly. I really agree with that. I feel like that's really like the highlight of everything, where we're doing roofing. So we're in the roofing industry. And roofing is one of the top most dangerous, businesses.
Absolutely.
So as far as being in this industry, I feel like people need to be certified and they need to have these fall protection classes and these certifications. So then that way we're not falling victim to,
Right.
to being another statistic.
Exactly.
And like we were talking about a little bit earlier before, we came online, I feel like it's kind of similar to like driving. You have to have a driver's license because it's something that's dangerous. It's
Right.
something that, you do on a daily. You're not going to have an accident all the time. But that one accident, if you don't have your seatbelt on, if you're not doing the precautions, then that can be life-changing.
Absolutely.
So I feel like just how you have a driver's license, it should be mandatory, where if you're a roofer, if you're climbing on the roof, if you're handling a ladder, that you should be certified for it.
Sure, definitely. And that goes hand in hand. It's when you're going to be doing a job like that, it is obviously OSHA says that the employer is responsible to train the employees on what hazards they're facing and how to protect themselves from those hazards. Mm-hmm. And I think that we all kind of can inherently understand what the hazard is with climbing up on a roof.
Exactly.
It ain't the way down that hurts. It's the sudden stop at the end.
Yep.
So trying to get down and understand that, like you said, I mean, every time you climb on the roof, you're not gonna have an accident. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's just the nature of it. That's the statistics. But when you do have that accident, the higher the roof, the higher probability it is that it's going to end very bad for mm-hmm. whoever that person is that fell.
Exactly.
And I just want people to understand that the longer you do it, we feel like we're safer. Mm-hmm. Because we've done it so many times, we've exposed ourselves to that hazard that it's not as scary anymore. But that makes people be complacent as well. So
that's what someone told me. I'm an adjuster. On the roof, he said the people usually fall the most are the ones that's the most experienced.
Yep. Because
they get so used to it. So they feel like it's second nature, and now they're being more lackadaisy.
Exactly.
And then that's when it usually happens.
Right.
So, that's something that's big too. So let's get straight to it. What are some of the most common safety concerns that you would say are in the roofing industry? And how does Pike Consulting Group address them?
Sure. I mean, and a lot of this today is going to revolve around fall protection. Mm-hmm. Fall protection is the number one killer in the construction industry. The number one thing that causes injuries. It causes the most amount as far as workers' comp payouts and severity of injuries, as well as OSHA citations. So fall protection is that big deal. And whether that be when you're standing on the roof or working from a ladder, anytime you're working at heights above 6 feet is when statistically it shows it becomes way more dangerous. So what we do is we try to help companies, obviously comply with what OSHA sets out as far as the written program, training, education, continuing oversight of employees and things like that. And we also, one of our big things is that safety training aspect of it, of getting people into training classes so that they can see what's expected, but real life scenarios on why you want to do this and how to practically install the equipment to be the most efficient for you and not get in your way and work with you to do this.
Love it. Okay, and now how would you say, just piggybacking off that question, how would you say that you help roofing companies develop these safety protocols and implement them effectively? Sure.
So obviously we start off with our written program, and there's individual programs inside of there, whether it be for ladder safety, fall protection, PPE, eyewear, if you need hard hats, boots, shoes, things like that. So we have a bunch of different programs in there, but really what it boils down to is working one-on-one with those individual employees and those subcontractor crews to gain their trust and understand that I'm not here just to try to get you to do something you don't want to do. I'm here to try to get you home to your wife and your kids tonight.
So you're not the roof police,
man. I get called that all the time, but I feel like we do a good job of getting out there and getting on a personal level with people.
You're trying to help people.
I'm not here to try to make your life hard, man. I'm trying to make it where you can go home and continue to come to work tomorrow to keep making that money for your family.
Yeah.
I
have a question. As far as because you mentioned the hard hats and the PPE, so that's the eyewear, right?
Yep.
So when is that really necessary? Because just to be honest, I don't really see that too much on when we're doing, like, say, re-roofs.
Right.
And just like with our company, since the events, as far as the training events, we started implementing like hard hats, especially for our project managers, since they're at the bottom and people are throwing off shingles. Yep. But should that be something that's mandatory?
Yeah, so hard hats, anytime you're on the ground and there's operations going above, you would definitely need it. And I mean, how many times you've seen a nail gun just slide down the wood, after you strip the roof, nail gun comes sliding down or whatever and fall right in front of you or close to you, or some shingles or whatever it may be.
Yep.
So having that hard hat on is a real big thing when you're on the ground. Eye protection is big anytime you're using any kind of staplers, nailers, any kind of power tools. And also, when you're creating a bunch of dust and debris, it is a good idea to have the eye protection on to make sure that you're not getting foreign things in your eye. Because, I mean, once you get an eye injury,
that's it.
You ain't getting a new eye.
You're right about that.
You're going to just have a patch.
Sheesh. You look like Captain Morgan. So, as far as with these hard hats and the protective eyewear, should it be something that's mandatory or should it be something that's kind of optional?
So obviously, if you look at what OSHA law is, that technically is mandatory. So what it says is if you're exposed to anything flying, potential of anything flying, falling objects strike you in the head or contact with electrical shocks and burns, you're supposed to have a hard hat on.
Yeah. And I feel like, again, like we're kind of lackadaisy with it just as a industry whole.
Right.
Because the OSHA isn't there all the time.
Right.
So that way we feel like we're able to get away with it. We're not going to get fined.
Right.
But at the end of the day, it is for the protection and safety of our workers.
Exactly.
And we want to make sure everyone gets home safe.
Right. And that's the big thing. I mean, hard hats are one of those things that a lot of people don't perceive it as a necessary piece of equipment. And, I'm going to tell you right now that fall protection is by far way higher of a probability to save your life than a hard hat. But in those situations where you're on the ground and stuff is falling on your head,
exactly,
you're going to want that hard hat on,
And that's what I was thinking more of, like, as far as for, say, project managers, or you always have as far as, like, the cleanup crew at the bottom. So I always think about them when I see people, throwing off the shingles, throwing off the roofing materials. And
big time,
I'm like, is that actually required?
Right.
So yeah.
Right.
So,
and there was a study done about 5 years ago by a big home builder that in customer feedback reviews. What they determined was that the customer found a higher value or perceived a higher value of the home if two things were done. The main two things. It was clean during construction. So people putting things away, making tidying up, cleaning up, not having lumber and junk everywhere. And then also if the crews had hard hats on. Like, why would you think that? Well, it came down to professionalism. If the crew had hard hats on, wasn't just, out there in shorts and no shirt running around like crazy, they perceived that with a higher level of professionalism, thus quality of work. So cleaning up and having your crews look professional translated to a much higher perception of quality by that end customer.
We're taking notes, guys. We're taking notes.
Yep.
No, I like that. Okay, so and that's good to know that we're going in the right direction.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
And how would you say, as far as technology, with technology evolving, and in the roofing industry and everywhere in recent years, these new developments on the horizon, what'd you say about them?
Yeah. So I've been excited to see some of the innovations coming out. The Ridge Pro anchor, perfect.
Yep. We know the Ridge Pro.
Yep. I was able to talk to the inventor recently. Very, he's hitting it right where it needs to be. Trying to create solutions for roofers that are practical.
Yep.
That are fast to implement.
Yep.
And are actually going to do what they're supposed to do.
Exactly. Another one, the pitch hopper.
Pitch hopper.
I feel like that one is good too, and that's a little different than the standard couch cushion.
Sure. Yeah. It gives you a work platform somewhere you can stand on, especially on those steep pitch roofs. Grips on there really nice. Gives you something to lean against or hold on against. But obviously still, you got to have the fall protection on with the pitch hopper.
There we go.
But it assists that for sure.
There we go. Okay. Do you have any success stories as far as with roofing companies that have benefited?
Yeah. So we have one of our crews was doing roofing about a year and a half back. And the guy had all of his stuff on, fell off the roof. It caught him, and he's hanging there off the roof.
Okay.
And we actually got a picture of it. Somebody just happened to get a picture of him hanging there off the roof,
Really?
and another guy is carrying a ladder to put underneath him so he can get down.
Yeah.
Now, the day before this happened, my guys went out there and stopped that crew because the guys were not wearing the fall protection.
Oh my God.
So we stopped them, got them down, made sure they had all the stuff in the van.
Yeah, but
made them put it up. We came back the next day to make sure and told them we're coming back to make sure you got it on.
Yeah.
We come back, that dude's hanging off the side of the building
with it on.
And then we get him down, and he's like, wow,
That's actually crazy.
It did what it was supposed to do.
Yeah.
And then, but the guys knowing that, because there's additional hazards if you're just hanging there for a long time. You got tourniquets on the inside of your legs that's cutting off the blood flow, so you got to get somebody down fast.
We learned that in training. So how long what's usually the time limit?
About 5 minutes. So you want to be getting that guy down within 5 minutes to relieve that pressure off their legs.
Okay.
Yep.
So cool. So that's why you never want to be out there by yourself.
That's right.
You want to have your team with you. So that way, if something does happen, the fall protection is good, but then you have to get down as well.
Exactly.
Okay.
Rescue plan.
Exactly.
Yep.
How do we stay up to date with the changes of the safety regulations?
Sure. So they don't change very often, but what does change are tactics, things learned in the industry, what people that are implementing these things are coming up with, new innovations, things like that. Those are really big to stay. Having somebody that you can talk to in that world, somebody like us, will help you evolve with the times and to utilize those new things coming out and kind of changing the mindset of the guys out there on the job site. That's what you really got to do, is to continue to make this part of the culture and make this part of what you do every day, right? Every single day, right?
Every single day.
No,
I really feel like what you're touching on is something that's very important. Again, we're doing roofing. It's a dangerous business. Obviously, we're here to make money, but we're here to make money and get it home safely to our families.
Right.
So because it's roofing, because we're climbing ladders, because we're actually on the roof, one, as business owners, we have to make sure that not only are we, certified, but then the people who's mostly on the roofs, they're certified, and we're protecting them as well. And as if you're an inspector, if you're the crews, you should hold your your boss, your owner accountable too for making sure that you're certified. Because how can they demand you to be on a roof or demand you to be on the ladder, but they're not giving you the proper tools for you to be able to do those things safely.
Exactly.
So I feel like that's the main thing. That's the part of the culture that we need to change quickly, so that way it could be more effective.
Yep.
We can actually have people that are now safe. It's just like driving. So I'm sure there was a point where people were driving, they're like, hold on, everyone just needs to have a license.
Right.
Like this is crazy. Like, you can't drive in and not have a license.
Think about it back in the day when your mom stopped the car. What'd she have to do to hold you? Put her arm across, right? Put her arm across the seat.
Well, hey, you need to get a seatbelt.
Wear a seatbelt.
and it's mandatory. And then if you don't get a seatbelt, you get fined. But they're not trying to fine you because they want to make money. Maybe the government does want to make a little money, but really it's because to make you safe. So when the accident does happen, that you're alive.
Right.
So it's the same exact thing. We need to know the safety. We need to know the tools. We need to have the tools accessible for us, so then that way we can do our job and do it effectively.
Yeah. And I totally understand what happens out there. I mean, in order to even have the personality to be a roofer in the first place, you got to have the guts to get up on a roof and do your job, whether you got a rope on or not. Well, it's tough to tell someone who has that mentality and that personality of no fear and able to take risks that they need to protect yourself and put yourself in a bubble and stuff like that. Yep. I totally get it. But at the end of the day, that attitude will not stop you or make it any softer if you hit the ground. And I talk to guys so often that have had, gotten messed up, broken legs, broken backs, things like that, where they'll come out and say, look, I thought I was invincible. I never thought it was going to happen to me. But that day, when I woke up that morning, I didn't think anything was going to happen. But if I could change something that day, I damn sure would go back and change it.
Exactly. No, and that's a fact. So, guys, I need you guys to make sure that you're following Shane Henderson, that you guys are staying in tune with Pike Consulting Group, so that way you can bring these OSHA trainings and these safety trainings to your office. I feel like as far as changing culture, we got to do it one company at a time. So bringing people like Shane into your office, into your culture, helping him give you these strategies as far as making your company safe is definitely what's needed.
Right.
Tell us a little bit more about you. So obviously there's a lot of OSHA trainers, things like that. You said something cool off air as far as with the suicide.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So this month of May, I'm running 100 miles in the month of May to support Stop Soldier Suicide. So
that's real cool.
I'm a veteran, served 10 years in the military.
Thank you for your service.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why I kind of understand where those guys are coming from. Accepting inherent risk with your job. I get it. But for that, we're wanting to raise awareness for 22 soldiers commit suicide a day, or veterans. Yeah, that's a staggering statistic. Yeah. And so trying to bring awareness to that, and anybody out there struggling, reach out. No matter what happens, it's not worth losing your life. Whether we're talking about roofing, whether we're talking about mental health, whether we're talking about anything, your life is worth maintaining and getting better.
Yes.
Absolutely. So I'm doing that, running 100 miles this month, which my legs are a little tired.
100 miles.
Yeah.
No, that's big. So have you done that before?
Yeah, I've had a few months where I've broken over 100 miles when I'm training for something, but it's challenging.
So that's a lot of dedication.
Yeah.
So I know you're telling me some stuff as far as the steps and the processes to make this happen, as far as the mindset, and I feel like that's something that's to be congratulated and applauded. So congratulations on that.
Thank you.
I might try to go on the next one and
go.
see how I can compete, but I know you're gonna beat me.
I've been at it a while.
No, that's real cool. And I feel like even with that, with the athlete mindset, I feel like it's the same thing as far as with roofing, and again going to the safety,
right? Where
it's something that you just have to have instilled in you.
Sure.
So kind of like when you're an athlete, you always practice. Yeah, you're good. yeah, you know how to do whatever the sport is, you know, whether it's basketball, football, track, you know, but you always practice because that's going to make you better. That's going to keep you fresh.
Exactly.
And so when something does happen, then that way you know how to address it. And it's the same thing when me personally, I treat roofing like a sport. So even when it's putting on the safety or using the Rich Pro, or it's, to me, that's practicing my safety precautions in case something does happen.
Right.
And it's crazy because something does always happen, you know, and not always happen, but there's someone always has that one time,
Right.
you know,
Right.
And
even if it's a slip and you caught yourself, but you
mentally,
you get that heart rate jump and you're like,
butterflies.
I could have been, you got a harness and a rope on. That's what that's for.
Facts.
You know?
No, really. And even with me personally, I had the Rich Pro. Because, you know, when you have, like, the leaves and, you know, the things inside the valleys.
Yeah.
You slip on one of those and you kind of get that little off-footing, just like you said. But when I have, you know, the rope and I have something that is a backup.
Right.
You know, that's what makes you have that peace of mind. And, again, I feel like at the end of the day with the roofing, with something that's so dangerous.
I want to say this, that when you're going to get jobs, you know, from whether it be a homeowner or whether it be a general contractor or something, you're trying to get a job subbed down to you. Mm-hmm. However you're trying to get those jobs, if you pay attention to the industry, safety is becoming a higher and higher priority for people paying down jobs. Mm-hmm. Because at the end of the day, they don't want to be held, you know, holding a liability for you falling and dying on their property or whatever the case may be, right?
Course.
So from general contractors to everybody, it's morphing to where it's going to be expected for you to be doing the safety side of things so that they're not incurring risk on whether it be OSHA for the GCs or some kind of an insurance claim or something on the homeowner side or whatever the case may be. So
exactly,
I can see in 10 years where there's going to be hardly zero roofers that are going to be in business that are allowed to just never have any kind of safety.
Exactly. And really, that's where we're going at. That's why here at the Roof Gallery in Atlanta, Georgia, we're going to be doing quarterly safety events for all roofers in the metro Atlanta area, making sure that they're getting certified so that way everyone's, again, safe and making it home to their families. Anything else that you want to add on?
Oh, well, you know, I just want to reiterate to everybody that, you know, OSHA is one part of it, but that's not the end all be all. Mm-hmm. That we have a responsibility to take care of our guys. And I'll tell you this, one of the worst phone calls I've ever heard in my life was a framing subcontractor where this guy's brother-in-law, so his sister's brother, just came to work for him. Mm-hmm. He had his harness on, had a rope up on the roof, but he wasn't attached to it. The boss told him, hey, man, you need to hook up. He said, I'm done in 5 minutes. I'll be right down. Boss walked around to the front, came to the back. The guy's laying on the concrete dead. I show up, you know, as part of representing the company that had to deal with this, and I hear the guy on the phone with his sister telling her that her husband's not coming home that day. They got 3 daughters. The youngest one is 8 months old, and she's crying on the phone, trying to figure out what they're going to do, you know. And those are the ones that keep me going to try to change people's minds.
Because it's real life.
It's real life.
It's real things that happen, and basically you're trying to not make that happen to the next person.
Exactly.
And that's crazy because, again, like, these are real stories, and again, we're in the roofing industry. We're in a dangerous industry, so hold everyone accountable as far as being the roofing owners. Hold yourself accountable to make sure that all of your guys are safe and they're certified. And as far as being the inspectors, you know, being the ones that has to have the ladders and do the inspections, or the ones that are the laborers, the crews, you want to be certified too, you know. And if you're not certified, you want to make sure that you're holding your owner accountable, so that way they can help get you certified as well.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. And that's it. I think that's a good conclusion.
Yeah.
As far as safety, let's make that part of our roofing culture. That is roofing culture. I'd like to thank Shane Henderson again for coming to the Roof Gallery and blessing us with this interview. We're here with Don with the Scoop.
Always a pleasure.